So I'm heavily into ornamental grasses, as you're probably aware from watching my channel, amongst other things. Not just ornamental grasses, I do grow lots of perennials, as you're also probably aware. But what I want to do today is I want to actually talk you through three of what I consider the best Miscanthus sinensis on the market at the moment, or as far as I'm concerned, that are on the market at the moment. And I'm going to go through three different sizes. Now, when we come to Miscanthus, there's some really big ones. I've got one called Lutaria riparius, which is huge, and it'll make 15 foot in England, probably 25 in its native Taiwan. Very invasive species, but I'm not going to show you that one. I'm just going to tease you with that one at the moment. Now, this one here, this one's what we class as one of the taller varieties. And this is Miscanthus sinensis, and it's a one called Memory. Now, it's named in the memory of a chap called Ernst Pagels, and Ernst Pagels was a chap that brought Miscanthus to the market, or big time to the market, because he did a lot of breeding with them. And he brought along some of the best varieties going. But the three, ironically, the three I'm going to show you today are not by him, except this one's in his memory. In his memory. That's why they called it Memory. Now, it's a tall one, and it's absolutely fantastic. Now, it's second year in for me. Now, most Miscanthus are non-invasive plants. They'll never cause you a problem. They'll start early in the season with the first set of leaves, and then through the year, they'll just keep going right up till about end of July, when some of them start flowering or seeding. And they just carry on the show right through winter into spring, when we have to cut them down in about end of January into February nowadays. It used to be a lot later than that, but the weather, the way it is nowadays, we get away with it a lot later. And basically what happens is these plants will die off into like a straw colour. The leaves will die off into a straw colour, but they will stand well and they die well. And they stand like this. Now, this particular variety, what actually happens with this one is this particular seed head, what I term as blows. So it fluffs up. Imagine a bit of cotton wool fluffing up, and that's practically what these look like. Now, at the moment, I would describe this as a rosy silver colour, some of these flowers. See if we can get in close enough to show you that. Yeah, I think it's coming through there. And that's what I would term this colour as. But it's an absolute stunner, and it's quite domineering in the garden. So you need quite a bit of a nice setting for it. And I've got a cracking setting here because it's against this dark elder here. So it's looking really good here, and it looks good wherever I look at it from the garden. I can spot this one because it's a tall one. So this one's about 7 foot high, probably get a little bit taller than that, and it will continue to slowly clump up. It'll never get out of control. If it did, for yourselves, then you just simply go in early spring and split the clump in half, or however you feel would suit your garden. So that one's called Miscanthus sinensis Memory. So number 2 on my list is this one here, and this is called Miscanthus sinensis Red Cloud. Now, when I've talked to people before and they ask about what grasses are good for pots, well, this is one that I try to tell them about. And I say try to tell them about because it's not easy to get hold of. It's relatively new. It's one of the new kids on the block. It's been around a couple of years now. Available in other countries quite freely, but in England, for some reason, we don't have as many of it around. It's very small, so it's one of the small ones. So it's a great contrast for the tall one. And this one probably, at the moment, it's in the pot. And obviously, if it was in the garden, it'd probably make another 1.5 foot. But in the pot, it's approximately 2 foot, maybe 2.5 foot. It's called Red Cloud because it has this cloud-like appearance, and the flowers are this red colour, or the seed heads. I'll always refer to these as flowers because that's how I like to term them. But they have this wonderful, wonderful look. As you can see, they blow lovely in the wind. So, as I said, some of these are fantastic for putting into plant pots, and that's what I've done here. I've kept it in its plastic plant pot because I will need to move it on at some point, and then we've just sat it in this ceramic plant pot, and it does look quite nice. I deliberately leave it on that corner because you get this effect from it. This billowing, blowy effect, and it's fantastic. So that is a good one for the pot. It's not the only one that looks good in a pot. There are other varieties. Another good one would be Yakajima. That would be another nice little variety if you can't get hold of this one. Not as pendulous as this, but nevertheless a really nice one. And there's another one that you can get hold of called Cindy. That's another nice smaller variety. Not as small as this one, but nevertheless a good one. Now, where would you go for these sort of things before we move on to number 3? Well, I would send you off to a couple of places, really. One place is called A Plantsman's Preference. If you look on the internet in the UK, you'll come across A Plantsman's Preference, and he sells some quite nice ones. But the best one, in my opinion, is a place called Knoll Gardens, which is Knoll. Speak to Neil Lucas there, and he delivers all over England. And he has a lot of different types of grasses and perennials, as does the Plantsman's Preference. But Neil's got quite a few more, and he is kind of a guru in grasses. He's brilliant. So check him out, and check Tim at Plantsman's Preference out as well. But I don't know if you'll be able to get this particular one from there. I got this through a bigger company, and I'm trying to scratch my head and think which one I got it through, but I can't remember. So that one there is called Miscanthus sinensis Red Cloud, and it's a stunner, as you can see. All Miscanthus have different colours and different tones, and this is particularly red, as you can see from there. Now, while we're here, we'll just move to this other one. I'm not going to give you its name because I don't want you to look for this one, but this is what they do. This is the seed head. That's what they do. Now, that's what I'm talking about when I said that they blow lovely. So they blow up into this fluffy appearance. So the bigger the flower, or the bigger the seed head, or the more condensed this seed head, the more you'll get this blowy look eventually. And then once it does that, which is probably for these in another month. Actually, here we go. Look, I should have showed you this one. There we go. So this one's doing it now as well. The seed heads ripen at different rates. Don't forget, it's wind pollinated. Miscanthus are not very good at self-seeding, so if you're worried about invasiveness, I wouldn't worry too much with a Miscanthus, because our seasons in the UK not really long enough to produce hundreds of these things, but we do still find them nevertheless. So that one is called Miscanthus sinensis, and it's Red Cloud. Another good one, and definitely one for the pot. So here's my third choice of Miscanthus, and this one, possibly for me at the moment, is the best available at the moment. And I hope to tell you that you could probably pick this one up. But again, it's not that easy to find. But as far as I'm concerned, and I've got a lot of Miscanthus, this for me is definitely one of the best on the market. There are other good ones. In fact, there's a lot of good ones, but I just love the condensated, sort of messy leaf structure that this one has. If we quickly compare it to that one across there, that one's more neat, as is that one, but this one has this congested leaf formation that I really like, and it really sets off these seed heads. Now, the seed heads are quite good as well, as you can see. They have more a golden yellow look about them, more yellow as they first come out, with tinges of red, tinges of pink, and it's just a fantastic grass. Now, this one's called Miscanthus cheugensis. I think it's a sinensis. It was discovered by a company in Wales, or a couple in Wales, Sue and Bledwin, and I can't remember the second name, but from a place, from a nursery called Creek Farm Plants, or Krug Farm Plants is how you'll see it spelt, but it's actually pronounced Krieg. And I think they're in North Wales. They've got a fantastic nursery down there that I must visit at some point, but they discovered this one and a couple of others actually on one of their plant hunts. Now, as I said, I consider this, for me, probably one of the best. It always gets a lot of attention, as do the other two they produced, which I'm not showing you today. But it always gets a lot of attention because of that flower, or that seed head, and the formation of the leaf. which you've got to admit is lovely, and it sits well against this Euphorbia wolfenii, which is my own selection, by the way. That one's called Malachi. That's a selected seedling from way back. Now, so you've got these types of Miscanthus. Now, this one is considered a medium-sized one, for me anyway. And usually when we're talking about these things, we talk about, or for me, I talk about the seed head or the flower head. We'll call it seed head for you people, for those who are not used to these things. And that's what we refer to. So this particular one is made 5.5 foot at the moment, and that's pretty much all it'll make. It will clump year on year, and it's quite good at clumping. Make a big clump eventually, but it never spreads. It'll only ever clump up and make a bigger clump, as I've said, and that's how we get new propagation. So I've got a few in pots that I've already propagated from this very one, and simply in spring, as it first starts coming up, just pop it out or dig your spade in, split it out, split it apart, and throw it into a plant pot and just look after it that way. And that's so that's Miscanthus chayugensis, and for me, possibly my favourite, because it just, from the moment it starts flowering, it just looks absolutely stunning, and I love it. I really do, and I can't say enough about it, to be quite honest. And if you can get this one, if you can find it, if you can try getting it from Creek Farm Plants, and they've got it in stock, because I know they'd run out some time back. Once it comes available, do yourself a favour and buy it, because it's fantastic. So that's Miscanthus chayugensis. Now, I know I said I'm only going to show you 3 Miscanthus, but I've teased you with this one. This is called Miscanthus Lutaria riparius, and it's a massive one. If you're familiar with what's commonly called the elephant grass, which is Miscanthus giganteus, this is on a par with that, only this gets a lot taller eventually. This is a young planting. I've had the plant itself for about 4 years. I finally put it into this sheep bale feeder, and for a very good reason. I have put in a plastic barrier, because it will spread and it will run, and it is very, very invasive. Now, I just absolutely love it, and I should say it's towering above me at the moment. I believe it's 10 foot at the moment. Last year it made 12 foot, but it was a single specimen, and I kept watering it heavily last year. This year it's not had the same treatment, because don't forget we've had a dry summer. But in the UK, I expect this to make about 15 foot, and it's just a stunner. Oh, let's tease you with this one as well. That one's another Miscanthus, and it's called Cosmopolitan. It's a baby at the moment, more of a clumper, but I'm not going to talk about that at all, because I'm just confusing you now. But that one there is an absolute beautiful selection. If ever you get hold of it, please keep it in a pot, or do what I've done, put in a root barrier. This is a bamboo root barrier that's dug in down to 900 millimetres. The plastic there is 900 millimetres down, and it's just superb, and you've got to admit that looks really nice there. And once you start hearing the wind whistle around it, and you stood next to it, you can hear it rustle in. So again, it offers you that little bit of something different. And there it is up on the Lincolnshire Wolds in my owl border, doing really, really well. Miscanthus Lutaria riparius. And it's superb, as are all the Miscanthus. All Miscanthuses I love them all. I've got a right collection going on. I've got way too many. I haven't got the room for them here, because I like to mix them in with my borders with some late season perennials, but I also have early season perennials. But I tend to find that the late season taller perennials go better with these things, especially as I've got some quite tall grasses. As you can see in the background there, there's another one there with all these yellow Rudbeckias, which is Demii, and they seem to suit it. And the Eupatorium there, Purpureum, which is another cracking one to put with them. So there we go. So if you've got any questions whatsoever, please fire them at me. I'm happy to answer these questions. It's nice to see people are starting to interact with me. I don't do this for your interaction. I do it simply to inform, because I like to inform people and just show them what is possible in any garden. And we've got a lot of newbies out there, a lot of new people at it, and there's they're not sure about ornamental grasses. As you can see as I walk around, I've got a lot of ornamental grasses, but I particularly like Miscanthus varieties, and this is their time to shine. So we'll end it on my favourite, which is that one there, Miscanthus chayugensis. As I say, any questions, fire them away at me. I'm also on Instagram. If you want to check out Instagram, a gardener's journey and the number 1 will find me. Check out my board. Often I've got close-up pictures of these. And as I say, any questions, fire away. I keep repeating myself, but I love these things so much, I'm happy to talk about them all day. Okay, I'll catch you on the next one. Ta-da!